As we wait for the COVID-19 curve to flatten, one of the things that people have really experienced is that this pandemic has impacted on us negatively. And therefore, I believe that one of the things that is very, very significant or is worth talking about is on the topic of loss and grief. And therefore, I want to share with you something briefly on how to handle loss and grief. Now, loss is defined as being deprived of something you have had or you had valued. So, when you are deprived of it, something that you really cherished, you really loved, we say you have experienced loss. Grief, on the other hand, is the pain or the suffering that you experience after loss. So when you lose something, you grieve. You get bereaved. And bereavement here now is all about the state of having suffered loss. So the person who is bereaved is someone who has suffered loss. Now, we have different types of losses. There could be loss of hope, which is very bad, because when you lose hope, then I don't know what remains, because they say that hope is the last thing that dies in a man. And hope never disappoints, as we read in the book of Romans chapter 5, verse 5. It can be loss of love. You can lose a loved one. You can lose a girlfriend. You can lose a wife through separation or divorce. It can be a loss of dreams. It can be loss of lifestyle. Like one of the things that COVID-19 has done is that it has made us to take a different form of lifestyle. People are not living the way they used to live. When you think about things like social distancing or physical distancing, when you think of people not meeting together, the ban on social gatherings, actually this one is loss of lifestyle. You can't spend the way you used to spend. If you are extravagant or you loved goods of ostentation, this is not the time you can do that, because times are tough. Loss of health, like when you fall sick, you have been diagnosed of a disease, therefore you lose your health. It could be loss of wealth. You've lost your wealth, you've lost your property. Loss of business. Most business people have lost business because of what is happening. It could be loss of money. When you lose business, you lose money. Loss of employment. This has really pinched many, because many companies have laid off their employees in the bid to reduce expenditure. They have sent their employees home. They have retrenched them. Some have been sacked. Their positions have been declared redundant, which means they are no longer needed. That is loss of employment. It could also be loss of status. Loss of status. When you lose a particular status, we can say that that is some form of loss. So, when you talk about grief, it could be normal grief, it could be absent grief, it could be suppressed grief, for that matter. So we have different forms of grief. Now, the process of grief, as explained in some sources of knowledge, could actually flow from what we call denial. When you experience loss, you could decide to deny it. You suffer from denial. You don't want to accept it. Then it gets to anger. You get irritated. Then it can get into a bargaining. For example, you have lost your husband, or you have lost your parent. And you get into bargaining with God. You ask God, why must it be me? It could have been someone else. Why is it that it must be me to lose an employment? So you get into bargaining. Then it can get to depression stage. And of course, now it gets to a stage of acceptance after that. So you accept that it has happened, and therefore life has to continue. You have lost a job, you've lost a spouse, you've lost a property, you've lost money, you've lost health, you've lost wealth, but life has to continue. Then you think about, what do I do next? Because it has happened. Then lastly, we look at the recovery. How do you handle loss and grief? How do you handle it? Acceptance is very, very important. Accept that things have happened. Accept that COVID-19 is here with us, because we have seen even Kenyans who don't believe that there is COVID-19 pandemic. Accept you have lost a job. Accept that relationship has ended. Accept you've lost what you used to have. Experience the grief. Give yourself time to experience it. Be patient with yourself. You know, sometimes when you're handling the loss you have experienced, or when we are grieving, we don't give ourselves ample time or sufficient time to handle it, and it becomes so bad. Now, you need to bring on board rituals that can help you handle grief. It could be reading ritual, it could be meditation, it could be praying, it could be any sort of thing, reflection, something that can help you to handle grief. Self-care. Many people don't know how to take care of themselves. They end up taking care of other people, and then they fail to handle their situations. And that is why we have a lot of wounded warriors or wounded counselors. That is why we also have starving bakers, those who make bread, those who bake bread, but they starve of bread. Also, you can seek professional counseling. Get a counselor to help you come out of the situation. Apart from the counselor, the professional counselor, you can also get someone to open up to help you to come out of the situation. And lastly, I would recommend divine intervention. To handle loss and grief, rely on God. Put your trust in God. Read His Word. Pray. Rely on Him, because He says that in this world we shall see many tribulations, but let us cheer up, because He has overcome the world. He's able to give us the peace when He tells us, do not be anxious of anything, but in everything present your petitions and prayers unto Him. And then the peace of God that surpasses all human understanding shall guard your hearts and your minds. So God can help you handle loss and grief. So thank you. I'm Victor Ochieng, the director of Godspen Consultancy. You can listen to more of these videos by logging into our YouTube channel, Godspen Consultancy. You can also log into our website and get to read more, www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. So thank you very much.